Welcome to The Last Scout Show. I am your host, The Last Scout, coming at you from small town, rural America on the Missouri-Kansas border. The Last Scout Show is an Okie Joe LSR radio production. Well, I heard today that the Pope says hell does not exist. That spirits, souls, they just disappeared. I'm sure there are a lot of Democrats that are glad to hear that. But that is not why we gathered this evening. We are going to touch on a subject that all of a sudden has gotten so controversial. It was building up to it, but it still was not as controversial as it has become in the last, let's say, 48 hours. And that subject would be the subject of Q. So, how do we approach this? Well, within the last 48 hours, a video came out from someone named Thomas Paine from America Intelligence Media, basically saying and calling out that the whole Q thing is a big psyop. Psyop, yeah, that's right. Is a big psyop. And, he was on with Jason Goodman and went totally insane. I mean, just totally, absolutely insane about how everybody involved in indie media, the Alex Jones Group, We the People 24/7, Jason Goodman, anybody that thinks outside the box is basically a cult. And all this stuff that's coming from Q, supposedly there's 3 Qs, and the original Q looked for and contacted him because he wanted to get the truth out there. Well, that's just fine and dandy, but that's not really what Q's about. Well, we'll get to that in a second. So you've got this big controversy going on about the existence of Q, whether Q exists or not, whether it's just a big psyop by the CIA. And that's 2 things that they bring up of the arguments come up out of this. And the first one is that it's a big CIA psyop. Okay, well, if you look at what's taken, and this tells me real quick, this Thomas Paine from AIM, and I'm not going to call it AIM because at my age, AIM will always be American Indian Movement from back in the 70s. So we'll get that straight real quick. So the AIM guy is like trying to say that all these people are being funded, including, Jerry Corsi, by something called the SCS. I mean, you can follow the whole thing to get caught up with it because really the details of that stuff are not my concern. But here it is that if this is a big CIA psyop, I don't know why I want to keep saying that, psyop, then why is it having the effect that it's having? Because I can see where you would want to be a purist on the truth and, this is who Q is, or this is Q Team 1, or this is Q Team 2. I mean, I can understand that. Some people are into that. But if this is a CIA op, how come so many people are getting red-pilled, for lack of a better word? How come so many patriots are becoming so much more aware of their rights as citizens, of their dedication and love for the country that they've been browbeaten and psychologically opted out on by the CIA, Project Mockingbird, those kind of things, now they're finding their way back because of the Q post. Really? That's a CIA op? Well, it doesn't really seem to be going the way that you would think the CIA would want it to go. So, but that doesn't matter, because what really does matter is that there is the spirit of Q and what the Q movement has brought. And one of the things that it's brought on is like your live streams, like We the Patriots, or correction, We the People Patriots box on YouTube, their 24/7 live stream. You've got all these different indie medias that are bringing it out and talking about it, discussing it. You've got all these teams, but yet you seem to have this whole collective of other people that want to shut it down. And why would you want to shut it down? Why would you want to discourage people? Why would you want to turn people away? When people are coming to the light of what it means to be a patriot again in this country, about how there is no shame in being a patriot again in this country, why would you want to stop that? Well, when the dossier came out, the Steele dossier came out on Trump, it was so over the top that it red flagged you. I mean, if the Steele dossier probably had not contained the part about supposedly the pee on the bed incident in our old hotel room that Obama stayed at, whatever. If that had not been in there, I don't think you would have red flagged so many people so quick. And that's the same thing that's been happening in the last 48 hours that lets you know that it's a psyop. And people that you would not expect to, people that were trusted on indie media that had their own thing going on about Q, went with it for a while and then turned against it. And, it's interesting to watch, people flip on a dime. And I guess, nobody wants to be fooled. Nobody wants to be, handed nobody wants to be treated like they're in a cult, which is the second angle of this attack. Oh, those people that follow Q, they're all a cult. They are all into this black magic and on and on and on and on. Well, please explain to me how the people that follow the Q thing are a cult. In general, how are they a cult? They're not a cult. To call patriots coming together, relearning their roots, relearning their independence, becoming aware on how deep-stated the government's turned into, because they followed that, because they want to educate themselves, because they ask questions, that is a cult? Well, then in that case, if that's your standard for a cult, and what about that cult that gathered together on July 4th, 1776 in Philadelphia? What about that cult? I mean, they all, in spirit and in tradition, what we think is what they were thinking. So you're going to tell me that the Founding Fathers, based on your level of grading things, you're going to tell me that the Founding Fathers were a cult. You're going to tell me that there were 13 individual independent states that were a cult. They all came together and became this big cult. Well, now look how much the cult's grown. If you think it's a cult. Now it involves 50 states. Now it involves millions of people. No, so see, you're like this movement to psych out everybody that follows Q or follows the spirit of Q. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, it's like Dead Cat on We the People Patriot Soapbox says, you know you're over the target when you start taking flack. And I see a panic mode. I see a major, major panic mode going on here by those that are still trying to maintain control of the deep state or of the country. No, it's not working. They're panicking. So it doesn't matter. And here's the bottom line. Does it really matter who Q is? Does it really matter if Q exists? What if this is a whole program? How do you know? Let's just take, for instance, let's say that Q is a psych op. Okay? Well, then obviously it's a person in the intelligence community that's a white hat. Because why would you keep having that light out there, bringing in all these patriotic moths from all the corners of the forest, the deepest roots of trees? Why would you have that light out there, draw them out there? It doesn't make any sense. See, it's the spirit of Q on Taking Back America, of relearning and re-educating ourselves on our traditions, on our history, on our true history, not the Common Core history that's been pumped for the last few years. Those are the spirit of Q. Americans becoming Americans again. Patriots re-establishing their patriotic roots. I don't think it's that difficult to figure out what the spirit of Q is. And it doesn't matter. What if Q quit posting tomorrow? The seeds have already been planted. The furrows are in the ground. They're being watered. They're being nurtured by oath keepers, by caretakers of the Constitution. So you see, even if, you hear this thing, there's the letter of the law, which is what prosecutors go by, and then there's the spirit of the law, which we live by, and we use our judgment on what's right, what is wrong, what should be a major punishable offense, taking a big look at the big picture. Well, it's the same thing with Q. There is the core of Q on the Q post, but at the same time, there is the Q spirit that spreads out every day, every minute of every day, throughout the people, throughout patriots in this country, and across this nation. So, you're not going to kill the Q spirit, deep state. Forget it. It's not going to happen. And all your pathetic attempts to try to throw Q off track. Now, there are people that do question it. And I think this is one thing that we have to be really honest about with ourselves. And I'll talk about that on the other side of this break. So hang on there, and we'll get to the second part of this.
Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president. You like Ike, I like Ike. Everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum. We'll take Ike to Washington. We don't want John
or Dean
or Harry. Let's do that big job right. Let's get in step with the guy that's hep. Get in step with Ike. You like Ike, I like Ike. Everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum. We'll take Ike to Washington. We got to get where we are going. Travel day and night for president. Let Adelaide go the other way. We'll all go with Ike. You like Ike, I like Ike. Everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum. We'll take Ike to Washington. We'll take Ike to Washington.
Now is the time for all good Americans to come to the aid of their country.
Ike for president, Ike for president, Ike for president.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
And to continue on with our discussion about Q, and is there really a Q? And if there is no Q, what does it really matter? Because there is the spirit of Q. I think at one point the people that follow Q and follow Q on other streams and stuff to keep up with the information, I think at one point or another they ask themselves, we've all asked ourselves, okay, what if this isn't real? What if this isn't, what it is trying to present itself to be? What do we do? Well, you have to soul search, and I think we've all been at that point, because I see, like over in We the People 24/7 chat room, I see over the last 48 hours, as this is played out with the insanity from the AIM, that people are worried. I mean, people do doubt, and they're questioning it. And you know what? I'm glad they're questioning it, because we have gone too long in this country not questioning everything like we should. And now, the fact that they are questioning, okay, the Q issue, good. Because it's going to have to be something that you have to research and learn for yourself. Yeah, you can learn it and people will turn you on to links, but you really have to make the quest on your own. This is every individual patriotic American's own quest through the Valley of Q. There are mountains on all sides. And the information from Q is the river that runs in that Valley of Q, that nurtures the soul, that helps guide the heart, that brings out and brings back into the light that American patriotic heart and spirit. So we're all going to question it. And I'm glad that you, like I said before, and it has to be looked at because it is a big decision. Americans have forgotten how bright and how intelligent they are. Just the average hard-working American. Nose to the grindstone. Running the kids here, running the kids there, trying to make the best for their family that they can. Well, now a lot of them are taking a look at Q because you know why? They want a better life for their children, just like all parents want for their children. They want America to be more well established, to be economically sound, and more than anything, to be totally safe and secure as much as possible in this world these days. So, the bottom line is it doesn't really matter if Q exists or not. What does matter is that the Q spirit does exist, and it exists in thousands upon thousands, over 1 million in people now. And it will continue to grow. Yeah, you can say it's based on faith, but it's not based on faith alone. It's based on knowledge. It's based on truth. It's based on transparency of our government. Patriotic Americans, don't let them get you down. This is the Last Scout telling you, do not let them get you down. You are much, 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 much greater than they want you to ever think you are. Well, and that is all I have to say on this subject for this segment of the Last Scout Show. I do want you to be sure and check out Be the People Patriot Soapbox. It's a 24/7 YouTube stream. It's definitely worth going to. A couple other people I'd like for you to check out are, quite frankly, great commentary, political, a fun show, entertaining, but you come out wiser. And of course, the lady of investigations herself, Tracy Beans. You'll find a link to all three of those on my YouTube channel page. Just look over at Last Scout's Choices on the right, and it'll take you right there. So, from the Okeechobee Frontier Studio on the Missouri-Kansas border in small-town rural America, this has been the Last Scout Show, which is an Okeechobee LSR radio production. Take care, America. Till we see you next time, God bless.